Well, thank you all for having us here today. My name is Deetra Montoya, and I'm here with my esteemed colleagues, Jess Ogilvie and Rafael Soltero. So today we're going to talk to you about a very important topic in the sales management field, intergenerational communication. And why is this important, and why do we want to address this today? Well, we find that the workplace is becoming much more diverse. Millennials are coming in, working with others represented from our other generations, so Gen X, baby boomers, and there's been some challenges in terms of communication. So in terms of communication style, in terms of perspectives, a lot of stereotypes out there in terms of behaviors. So we want to address that today with this exercise. We think a couple of things, the key takeaways. We talked a lot about adaptability yesterday, and so having millennials understand how to adapt during meeting, during any kind of encounters. Today we're going to be demonstrating a situation where a millennial may be a hiring manager and may have to interact with someone from a different generation, and that individual needs to understand maybe that their needs and are different than theirs. So I'll go ahead and any other thoughts you want to add why this is important, or we can transition to the exercise?
I think you did an amazing job kind of touching on why this is important, especially in the sales management class and in industry today. We're dealing with industry that is now made up of, in most organizations, 3 generations across the workforce. Our millennials in the classroom are at an even more unique disadvantage when we think about the fact that a lot of times they've only interacted with their own generation. A lot of times they have very little involvement, maybe a couple managers, maybe their parents in an outside generation. So for them to understand that these different generations have different needs, different expectations, and different qualities of life that they're really looking for in a job is incredibly important. We know that putting those individual students into experiential context is going to help them really kind of understand that at a different level. So we really wanted to touch on something that put that pressure on them, that made them understand that there are maybe some stereotypes they have they don't even realize yet. So it's an incredibly important topic. It's something that's really kind of gained a lot of momentum in industry now as well. So we wanted to jump into something that could really get our students up to speed on that. So the idea we came up with was kind of doing a simulated role play, but in this being a sales management context. So our students would sit across the table from a potential hire and try to make an appropriate job offer and sell the appropriate intangible values of this job. Working with generations, we have a unique opportunity to look at both career stages and generational issues. So this is a context where a millennial needs to understand that at different career stages, individuals are looking for very different things, maybe in a compensation package. And based on their generation, they're looking for different intangible values of a job. Maybe as a millennial, they're looking for work-life integration, right? They're looking for a job where they have friends and they can go to work and work has become part of their life. Whereas older generations maybe want work-life a little more separate. Right? I want to go to work so that I can live my life. I want to go to work so I have the means to enjoy the life I've created outside of work. So this exercise, we think, gives them the opportunity to look at both of those dimensions. With that, the goal of the exercise is for the student to ask a maximum of 3 questions. We kind of shortened it for time's sake. They're allowed to ask 3 questions to gather as much information as they can from that potential recruit sitting across the table so they can make the appropriate job offer and sell the appropriate intangible value of the job. So what am I going to offer to this candidate that's going to make them excited about taking this job? So we have a job offer, a mock job offer we've created. We also have a potential recruit that we're bringing into interview today. We have his LinkedIn page so that we can look at some of the information that a manager would have before they started this conversation with a potential hire. With that, the manager has 3 different job offers that they're allowed to make, 3 different compensation packages that they're allowed to offer this candidate, and we'll show those at the end. They also have to identify out of 5 intangible pieces of value that we've given to our recruit, so he knows what his 5 values are. And we'll put them on the screen behind me, the manager, when we start this conversation, so you guys can see what I'm trying to uncover. With those 5, I have to identify at least 2 of them and sell him on why he should come take a job here based on at least 2 of those 5 intangible pieces. If I don't make the correct offer, or if I don't sell the right pieces of value of the job, he walks away from the table, and I lose as a sales manager. Okay? So that's kind of the premise of our exercise. Today we are going to focus just kind of on that middle piece, the 5 minutes or so of that conversation where we make the offer, we try to uncover what's important. In reality, in the classroom, we would hope that you'd make this a little bit longer of an exercise. You teach the students that there needs to be a level of rapport built in the beginning of that conversation. There needs to be some trust, and obviously a longer conversation than just that middle piece. So with that, I guess we will look at our job hire, our job description, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So today we are trying to hire for an outside sales rep for Salesforce. So we are selling technology. So as a younger millennial, it might be likely that you see somebody in a position, a higher position at maybe one of these new startups. Obviously Salesforce isn't a startup right now, but something technology based, you might have the opportunity where a millennial manager is trying to hire an older sales rep to get someone that has experience, someone that can help take our company to the next level, someone that knows what they're doing. So we're looking at hiring someone for the South Florida area, and our first recruit is going to be walking in any minute. And so as a manager, I do have his LinkedIn information. I've prepared for this interview extensively. I know exactly who I'm interviewing, but
Hi Jess, how are you doing? Rafael Soltero.
Great. Grab a seat. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started.
You got some props down here. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I appreciate you coming in. I know I looked over your resume. I saw your LinkedIn page. It looks like you've done a ton of work in this area.
I have done a lot of work. I have some worldwide experience. I feel pretty good that I can do a good job in this area. Yes, definitely. And you're looking specifically for the area of South Florida?
We are, yes. And I saw that's an area you're quite familiar with.
Which is right. And again, I think that I'm very comfortable in that area myself.
Okay. So I know we've spent a little time previously kind of building rapport, getting to know each other. So I'd like to dive into some interview questions now, just get a better understanding of what you're looking for in the job. The first thing I was wondering is, you've had a lot of experience, you've done some incredible things. I saw you were in academia for a while. What are your personal goals that really brought you back to this field?
Academia was great. Great reward and whatever, pay was low. I think that one of the issues that I want to address for the next 2 to 3 years is really what do I want to do in terms of going out there and getting back into the system. Okay. So it's a personal goal that I have. And I want to make sure that I can also contribute. I got a lot of experience, so maybe I can help in terms of understanding how to make your job a lot easier. So the relationship between me and my boss is going to be very important.
Okay, so you could see yourself really leading us into, our next phase of growth here.
Yeah. I don't know for how long you're planning to have it, but you have to understand that I don't have 10 years of life in terms of work. I'm not planning to.
You're just looking for a couple years to really help us kind of get on our feet.
I think that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at it's not a long-term solution, but it's really a short-term solution that can really help you understand where you want to go.
Okay, wonderful. So when you talk about spending a couple years here, then what are you really looking for when it comes to being compensated during that time here? How do you kind of see the ideal job working out for you in this sense?
I think that compensation is always important. I think that I'm always looking for benefits. I just want to make sure that I get good health care. Okay. I want to make sure that I get good benefits in that term. I don't have to worry about any deductibles. I don't have to worry about anything else. I just want to make sure that I get good health care for the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay. Make sure we're taking care of you outside of the business.
That's correct. It's really important for me to get a balance between my job and work. And at this age, I'm willing to give you 150 to 100% for the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, wonderful. So I know we're running out of time, so I just had one more question. kind of on a broad level, when you think about, you said your relationship with the manager, you'd like it to be a close relationship, helping us move that forward. What are you looking for from me as far as maybe feedback, communication? What makes the ideal manager for you?
Definitely, it's got to be a very open relationship based on respect and trust. We'll have to listen to each other. You will have to, sometimes my emotion takes over, so you'll have to deal with that. And I think that the other thing is that I am an older generation, so I tend to be slow in terms of adapting to new things. So you'll have to take that into account. And sometimes you'll have to explain a little bit more to me some things before I accept them. But I think that the relationship will be okay as long as you can listen well and respect me. I will respect you.
Okay, wonderful. So I know you were one of our top candidates. You're someone we really want to bring onto the organization here. I think you're what we need to really grow in this area. Quite frankly, we need someone that has that experience, that has the connections that you do. What I have available to offer is actually, out of our compensation packages, I think based on your experience, based on what you're doing, we're looking at a compensation that's got a little bit higher of a base pay, a little bit lower variable pay in that sense. So something that provides a little more security while you are here for a couple years. We want to make sure that we get you paid well during that time. And then, of course, with what you're looking for, we can absolutely build in some higher benefits, a better package that's really going to take care of you. Very, low or no deductibles for you to worry about. Something that's going to make sure that your stress is never going to be outside the office. We don't want you ever worrying about any of that because we want you to be here for us and help us lead into the next phase.
It's important for me to have stability.
Okay.
It's important to me to make sure that I get well rewarded, but you're going to get a lot of my expertise, and it will be something that you will be very happy with.
Okay, so we'd like to make you that offer. I can get you the specifics of that in the next few days, but like I said, I think that's going to give you that security you're looking for. You'll know what that revenue is going to look, or what that money's going to look like coming in. On top of that, I think you're going to have a great fit with our organization. We truly believe in, trust, and value the expertise you're bringing. We appreciate everything you're doing, and I think we have a lot that we can kind of trade back and forth. I know with the information I can help with, maybe on the technology side, I think there's a lot of value in exchange for, all the relationships, the expertise, the sales knowledge you're going to bring to our organization. That's something we really need. As a leader, I can assure you that we're going to have an open and respectable relationship. You're somebody that has the experience and the knowledge that I truly respect, and that's the reason that we brought you in here today. So.
Okay. One thing that I want to make sure, it looks like your organization is very young. I think that I'm going to be the oldest person in that organization, right? I want to make sure that they consider me as part of the team. I don't want to be seen as an outlier.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can say that we have had discussions. We actually work very closely with our team to understand the value that different generations are bringing in. You're an individual that brings a level of knowledge that we frankly don't have, and that's honestly something that's going to make you a bigger part of this team more than anything else.
Okay. I think that honesty is big. It's a two-way, so I'm going to be as honest as I can with you. It's going to be difficult for me to kind of get settled in and everything else into this, but I think that we can work it out. I just want to make sure that I got your support.
Absolutely.
Open and timely communication is very important.
Absolutely. You can count on that. I know and value my employees very, very much, and make sure that we keep that communication consistent. I'm always going to be honest with you, transparent, but making sure that you're given all the tools you need to succeed and supported in every way we possibly can.
Okay. And you're going to be my
Yes.
manager, right?
Yes, we have direct hires from our managers are always the one that interview new people to be brought onto their team.
Good. So I'm a WYSIWYG, so no bullshit with me, okay?
Never.
Okay.
Would you like to go meet the rest of your team?
Sure, why not? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let me tell you what, I think that this happened to me. I went to work with a startup. They're coming and want to go on a worldwide search of their next market. They don't have the experience. They wanted to hire me. And the difference between me and my boss, he was 35, I was 55, so it was like 20 years difference. And we get along, but it was a lot of what Jess was talking about yesterday in terms of that communication that has to happen between the teams. And I think it's important that they get to see it now. I always say that the classroom is good to fail because you can learn there and it doesn't cost you any money. You don't get fired or anything like that. But I think that it's good that the students get to see and how is it that they feel when they have to interview somebody that is older than they are and that they're going to be their boss. Can they handle that? And can the other person handle it too, right? So I think that that's part of the major things here. So why don't we go through the debrief?
Yeah, so we would go through this exercise, spend a little bit longer in the classroom, but really the key here is to have the students assume those roles and what it feels like. So we would provide, we put them up here on the screen. We could use the screen or even have some cards that they read out and look at these intangibles or things that were important. So Rafael did a great job of identifying, just asking those questions to understand his needs. But at this point, after the role play, we would have a debrief. So we would ask the students, what are some key takeaways from this exercise, and what did you learn about even intergenerational stereotypes? There's a lot of stereotypes, whether it's about millennials or Gen X or even baby boomers, not being able to use technology or being perceived as lazy or just, I want to come into work whenever I feel like it, right? These are all stereotypes. So what would they learn about the stereotypes? And how did they adapt their communication style as well? So that kind of taps into what Jess shared yesterday with the emotional intelligence. So are they understanding and feeling what the other individual is across the table, or sensing, right, how they're feeling and what's important to them, and how are they adapting their style throughout the conversation. And then finally, how could this exercise help managers improve intergenerational communication? So these are a couple of questions that we came up with that we thought would be great to have a debrief and discussion after the role plays in the class. But really the key here is having the students assume those roles and understand what that might feel like, and then adapting and being able to present the compensation package that would best fit their needs.
And I think you'll see, especially in the classroom with the stereotypes, we have had enough conversations. We actually didn't do too much stereotyping. We did a little, you saw, the expectation that as millennials we probably wouldn't respect him and we wouldn't. And so I had to, debunk that and explain that no, it was actually, millennials actually have an incredible amount of respect for older generations when it's communicated correctly. But in a classroom, you'd see very quickly how if I put a millennial student into the chair and said, okay, go be someone from Gen X, go be a baby boomer, I know my students, and it would immediately be like, oh, I'll be a baby boomer. You get off my lawn, and you're like, are you serious? But then they start to see, I'm like, so that's the stereotype you're going in with. Can you see how that would cloud your judgment? Can you see how you might, start to say things that you truly don't mean? And so that in a classroom is where you're going to start to see, like, these are things that hold us back in generations because we're looking at millennials and saying, well, you're lazy, you can't hold a job more than a minute, you can't have an attention span longer than 3 seconds. And that really is kind of hurting our perception of these generations.
One quick question would be to the students is, after the role play, is which of the 3 packages would be more acceptable for that person based on the discussion that you had? Okay, just to understand what is it. And one thing that I, in my particular perspective, I don't need any training. Don't waste my time. I want to be out there selling. Train me on the product if you need me, whatever, but I have the expertise. The reason why you bring him in is here is with that. And I need stability. So, the higher, lower variable pay will give me a little bit more stability for that. I'm a hard worker, so that would be my preference, right? But depending on where you go, and then for sure, 100% coverage at this point, I'm thinking about benefits. I mentioned it a couple times. You need to hear that. So I think that those are the things that you as a manager have to understand.
And then finally, we came up with just some questions to consider for the case. So as we wrap up this exercise in class, these are some of the questions that we would share that students could potentially ask. Questions like, what challenges are you looking for in this position? What is important to you about your next job or important to you with your next boss? What are your expectations about compensation? Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? So as Rafael mentioned, here it came out that he was really interested in 2 to 3 years, and than going off on a sailboat. So, what are expectations? But these are good questions to ask where you get into those intangible needs.
And then what repercussions does that have? You will have to plan to hire somebody else in 3 years. So you better get somebody under the wing of this person to make sure that they understand what they have to do. So all the things are very important, I think, to sales management.